Om Shanti. Welcome to today's episode of Masters of Change. For some of us, change can be a major incident, and for others, it can be a whole new exciting adventure. It just depends on our perception of change. So to help us keep our attitude right towards change, today we have with us Sister Judy. Welcome, Sister, to the show.
Thank you.
How are you feeling today? And kindly let us go through your journey. How did it all start? How did you come into the practice of meditation?
Thank you, and Om Shanti.
Om Shanti.
I was 38 when I came to meditation. I had 2 daughters and a husband, and I was living in a part of Canada, raised in a family that was light touch Christian. So we only ever celebrated Easter eggs at Easter and Christmas gifts. Okay. So I had no spirituality or even religion in my upbringing. And from the age of 13, as a little white girl in a little white neighborhood of a little white city in Canada, I somehow read everything I could about Gandhi and everything I could about partition. I felt like I was in the room when it was signed. I could see the faces. Yeah, I could see everybody's faces in the room. Why would a 13-year-old? So this was a mystery to me. And probably from that moment, I started searching. I went to the local Baptist church with a friend, and I loved the feeling of community and the idea they were with God. But I could not put up my hand when they said, and put up your hand, those that Jesus saves. You'd have to say, Jesus saved me, and put up your hand. And I could not. It's like the force of gravity kept my arm down. So then as I grew up, I went to the Buddhists, and I thought that was very interesting to be still and silent, but my mind was never silent. It was always racing. Okay. So I think I was searching my whole life for something, but I didn't know what. And God, for me, had always been a dear friend, kind of like an invisible friend, not a religious character.
Yeah.
So I had no associations or imagery with God at all. Fast forward, I'm 38, I have 2 children, and I work as an organizational development consultant. And someone asked me to go on a business conference to Mexico. And the conference is about consciousness in business.
Consciousness in business.
Brand new title.
Yeah.
Never heard of this. Okay. Deepak Chopra was at the event. Matthew Fox, Barbara Marx Hubbard, these are big names in visionary, spiritual in the West. And I went, and I didn't know why I went, because that did not interest me at all. Okay. I thought it would be like a trade show where they'd be selling crystals and snake oil, I just thought I was a bit allergic to the New Age spirituality. Okay. But I went, and I didn't know why. Until day 4 of this conference in Mexico. We had a little networking session on the beach like this, 6 chairs sitting on the beach. And the announcer said, this is an opportunity to network. If you just take 5 minutes each and share with each other. And the gentleman next to me said, I'll go first. Okay. Can I use my 5 minutes to look at each of you in silence? And I thought, no, but I was right next to him. Yeah. I found it quite invasive. Yeah. I was right next to him, and he turned to me, and I was caught in these big lights. And my first reaction was, ooh, get out of my space. Yeah. My second reaction was I felt very seen, very naked, very vulnerable, And then my third, I went into bliss. I went into what I now know is called bodiless bliss, or the soul conscious experience. I didn't know any of that language then. I just knew I was happy. I was floating. Nothing could touch me. I was so full and content.
And it happened in those 5 minutes?
A split second. I stayed like that for 6 months. But as he went around the circle, I was not paying any attention at all. When it was finished, though, something I had to shake out of it, I looked around at the group, and I could see in everyone's eyes, they either were like this, get out of my space, or they felt very vulnerable and naked. Nobody was having this experience. So when it was all finished, I took him and I said, you explain to me what happened there.
Yeah.
And I got some riddles, got little bits of knowledge about God and soul, and that was it. Next morning, I wake up at 3 a.m. in my bed.
Yeah.
I'm sitting like this, wide awake, blissful, happy, powerful. We go for breakfast, and I don't think I'm going to eat meat anymore. No bacon, no sausages for me, thank you. Okay. We go for lunch at the conference. People are having margarita, alcohol drinks. I think, no, I don't want to have one of those. You don't feel like having that? No. And then that night, I dream about India, and I see all these people wearing white. Oh. And I had sworn that I would never go to India, the one country in the world I swore I would never go to. I have no idea. Okay. Rebirth. I must have left and said, thank you very much, I'm done with you. Okay. I don't know, but I had been working in 25 countries of the world. It's odd for someone to say, I won't go to India, but I did. And I had this dream of India wearing white, and I met this person who was a Raj Yoga student the next day, and I said, what about India? What about white? And the answer was, well, when in Rome, do as the Romans, meaning you'll wear white. And he said, November's a good time. Okay. That's it. And then he gave me, I don't even think we had a website then. It must have been a phone number. And I was to call somebody when I got back to Canada.
And how old were you back then?
I was 38. 38. So I went home to the children and the husband. Okay. And the husband asked me that evening, are you celibate now?
Oh, all right.
Why would a husband ask such a question? I had no idea about the Brahma Kumaris. I had no idea about the principles, nothing. Yeah. So I must have been radiating some kind of energy. Correct. And I said, yes.
You said yes. Okay.
And then I researched the Brahma Kumaris. Then I found out, I called the number, and I did find out. And sure enough, oh, these people are in India, they wear white, they don't eat meat. So I was an instant. I did not have to labor for any of the things that many people find difficult in transitioning to the lifestyle.
And then you came to India?
Yeah, 30, 40 times I've been here. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So how did your life change after that? Because you said that you are a mother to two.
Yeah.
And so your mothering changed, and what change did it bring in your relationships with your kids and your husband?
Well, I think we know that mothers are very close to their children, very connected, and we might even say attached. Yeah. You know, that the children are a bit like an extension of you, and you treat them like that. Almost immediately, you know, I could just see them as souls, and so I treated them as equals, but not adults. And that's kind of a subtle distinction, but equals but not adults. So I still took care of them, but there wasn't so much attachment. There was, you know, later as they grew up, they would go away to visit friend's house, and they'd come home and they'd say, gee, Mom, they're really different at their house. And I go, how are they different? And they'd say, well, they're very role conscious. The parents are the parents, the kids are the kids. The kids sit at the children's table, and I had never thought about it, but I wasn't very role conscious. They were my sisters. Right. But I still had to take care of them. Correct. So the big test was I attached, or was it pure love? And they went to live with their dad for a year in China. He got a job in China. And they left, and they were 7 and 10, and that would be a real test for a mother, typically. And they got on the plane, and I waved goodbye, and they didn't even turn around. Off they went. They were so happy. And I thought, okay, let me see if I miss them. Yeah. I didn't miss them. I love them, but I didn't miss them, which told me I wasn't dependent on them for my emotional happiness, my emotional well-being. It's a bit of an odd thing. You can't share that with all mothers because it's not easily understood, but that was my experience. So to this day, I love them dearly, very much.
But you're not attached.
I don't feel any ownership of them. Yeah. So it's been easy. They've made decisions in their life, and I've supported whatever they think is best for them. I'm not pulling them to do what I think is best.
Which is the correct way to go about it?
Well, it's easier. It means that the relationship is definitely one of love and respect.
Right.
A lot of love and respect.
Correct.
Yeah.
And how did your work change, your work life? Because you are involved with organizations and helping them to come out of conflicts. So prior to getting into meditation, it must have been different, the strategies you were taking, and how did it change after you got into meditation?
I've been a consultant to organizations now for 40 years.
That's a long time.
But I've only been studying with the Brahma Kumaris for 25, so that means there was a period before and after. In the world out there, people tend to approach things like team building, leadership development, strategic planning. They tend to approach it on let's say a transactional or a interpersonal social level. So let's take team building. We get a team together, we get them all to like each other, talk to each other, create trust with each other. In Canada, this had been happening for a long time, and people were becoming quite cynical about going away on team building retreats, because it's like a honeymoon. You go away, you have a wonderful time, you come back to the office, it's all the same. So they were getting quite cynical in my field, in my area. After coming to the Brahma Kumaris, what changed for me was a profound understanding of how to create unity in a group. It's not at all lateral. It's not about getting this one to respect this one. It's more like if you can get everybody focused on their highest and their best self. So get this one to trust themselves.
Right.
Get this one to walk their talk, to live their values practically, to rise to their highest, and you get that one to do that, and you get that one to do that, then automatically they're at a higher level. They're out of the kind of energy field that creates squabbling and quarrels and conflict. Because actually conflict is not about differences of opinions. Everybody has a different opinion. That's fantastic. That can enrich in a group, right? But the difficulty is the emotional intensity inside the opinion. And so people are really, when they're emotionally intense, they're hanging on to something.
Right.
Again, attachment.
Right.
So when you're feeling more secure, more safe inside yourself, when the environment is safer and more nourishing, you can drop things that you otherwise could not drop. So it's much easier to build unity when you sort of lift the overall vibration of the group.
And is there competition between them? A healthy competition? Does that work for the team, or does it hinder the work? If everyone is like too much self-indulgent, doesn't it make them too much self-indulgent?
I mean, many organizations create team competitions, or even best sales, and everybody races. When you do the individual competitions, people tend to, then it gets personal.
Yeah.
So I'd be less inclined. If you want to get a team, which team can get the highest, whatever. But even then, it has to be done in a way that you're not pitted against. Everybody should benefit at the end. Because if a team does really, really well, the whole company does.
Yeah.
So therefore, everyone should share in the benefit.
And I wanted to know more about the piece Halifax. That's a one-day festival that you co-founded, and it's as a gift to the people of Halifax. So how did you come that there's a need for such a festival, and how did it impact the people's lives over there?
Halifax is the place in Canada where the first immigrants came. So when the people came on boats, ships from Europe, they came, the entry point to Canada was Halifax. Okay. So we have the oldest karma. We're the place, the starting point for Canada. And then the immigrants went west, and then they built a train and all that. So we really feel that the reason people came to Canada was they were looking for peace. We thought we had a responsibility to create peace and offer that to the world. The people of Halifax are a lovely bunch. They're very communitarian, very community-minded. But there was depression, and like everywhere, people were not peaceful. They were anxious and stressed. So we thought, let's give this as a gift to the world, but especially as a gift to the people of Halifax, and let's brand the city with peace. So we branded the name Peace Halifax. The mayor thinks it's the best thing. He's there we got his blessings. Before we did it, we went to the mayor. We said, we want to do this. We want to brand the city with this. Here's why. We're the meditation center. He knew us because we tie Rakhi every year on the mayor.
Okay.
And he gave us full blessings, and he's been there every year since. So we've done 8 years. We started in the actual place where the ships arrived.
Right.
It's called Pier 21. Okay. And they have a big conference hall there. So we started there for 2 years. It's a bit out of the way. And so then what happened is we have this beautiful big 5-story public library. And they came to us and said, we'd like you to do it here. And you can have the whole building free.
Oh, that's lovely.
So every year we do it to coincide with United Nations International Day of Peace, which is September 21st. Oh. And we have bands come. We do virtue scopes for people. We have peace sticks. So it's a Native American tradition to have a talking stick. So somebody will get a piece of birch or poplar, a really lovely piece of wood from a tree, and they will carve the top into a fancy shape and they will decorate it. And when the Indians, the indigenous people, have a talking circle, they pass the stick. Oh. And anyone who has the stick has the right to speak. So we created this peace stick event where kids and their families sit, and we have 500 branches from this tree. We gathered them after the hurricane, and they wrap them with yarn, and they hang feathers and beads, and we call them peace sticks. Wow. And so the kids and their families sit, and it takes a long time to make one of these, so they're sitting peacefully for all that time. One of this it's so much fun. Yeah. We really thought peace, people associate peace with not war. Mm-hmm. They don't tend to associate it with happiness and joy and contentment and community. So we're trying to change the feeling of peace. It's not something you have to do sitting on a meditation mat. It can be happening right here. And, doing things together. And so people come for the whole day. We always start with a harpist, and we have a meditation to begin. Yeah. And then all the activities around the library, many different things. And then we have a concert at the end, and the people from the city come to the concert. And it's always a local musician who's well-loved, a different one every year. And when we leave at the end of the day, and we give all the library staff get the Peace Halifax t-shirts. Okay. So we're all wearing t-shirts all over the place. We do a flash mob. Okay. Where, somebody starts singing on the top floor of the library with a mic and a little speaker, walks down the stairs, and people join him at every platform until we're moving through the library singing. Right. It's amazing.
That's awesome to hear.
So at the end of the day, the staff always say, wow, that passed so fast. This is the most peaceful event. When you guys come here, we always just feel better when you leave. So they love having us. Yeah, correct. It's wonderful.
I'm sure. And you've worked a lot for the youth and with the youth as well. You facilitated BK International Youth Forum for 6 years and co-founded one of the events called
Choose, Change, and Become.
Yeah. And so what do you think the youth of today needs the most in the time that we are living?
It's funny, the word that came right into my head was silence. Because at these retreats, we'll often ask youth to put their cell phones in a basket. Yeah. And then we put the basket away. Yeah. And you can imagine what happens. They do all kinds of, But when it goes away, at the end of the day, they'll always say, and we do a 1-hour silence period. The rest is talking and workshops and fun. The 1-hour silence, at the end of that, they're completely different. And they just suddenly feel like, I heard my inner voice. I know what I need to do now. But with all the noise, the cell phone noise, the noise of people's opinions, what they should do, coming into their head, the noise of media messages, they don't hear their own inner voice anymore. Yeah. So it's funny, I wouldn't have said that until this minute, that's what they need. I would have said other things, but I think in the end it's going to be silence, coming back to their own inner wisdom. A lot of youth, I see so much wisdom in today's youth. And by youth, I'm thinking of the ones that are now entering leadership positions, so 24 to 35 range. Yeah. There's a lot of wisdom there, I find. There's a natural affinity to collaborate, to co-create, to network, to create community, and natural affinity. I feel the world needs this.
Correct.
So the world can benefit from that, and they probably could benefit from a little more silence.
Because there are a lot of distractions around them.
Yeah, so much. And pressure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So how should parents go about this thing? How should parents take some steps so that the children can go into silence or take some time out to hear their inner voice? Any suggestions for the parents that you have?
I think for a parent, if a young person is interested, they will find a meditation center on their own.
Yeah.
If it's meant for them, it will come. They will find it. But for parents, honestly, I think it's asking questions. So what do you want to do? What do you feel is best for you? And then listening very carefully for the answer. And then mirroring it back, saying, okay, it sounds like you really want to do this. I support you in that.
What's the one thing that you would like to share with our viewers today watching? What's that one thing that you really think that the world needs right now?
I find that even in our sweet little peaceful Canada, the world is polarizing quite rapidly right now. Political parties, opinions, views. And it's mixed with some righteousness and righteous anger. And I think for people of the world to just catch yourself before you jump on board with a polarized view. This way, that way, my way, right, wrong. Just catch yourself before that happens and soften your own energy a bit and see if you can empathize with the other side. They're doing that for a reason.
Yeah.
That would be one thing. Socially, I think we'd all benefit if each of us did that. But for the person, I think to find a way to sustain your inner core so you don't get so drained that your behaviors then fall into lower kind of energy behaviors. Really, if you have a relationship with God, reopen that relationship and draw power and energy and love from that source as a way to keep yourself stable, steady, love-filled. Because if you're not full, emptiness brings all kinds of troubles, all kinds of behaviors that get you into trouble.
We also were affiliated with you did work for Canadian government as well to help those who were living overseas, the diplomats and the professionals. So can you put some light on that?
Yeah, there was a time when we trained diplomats to go overseas, and we trained them about their country. So a Canadian diplomat coming to India, here's what namaste means, here's what, a bindi is, here, we give them all the cultural details. It was sort of anthropological, let's say. Yeah. But then it changed to being, no, there are some generic skills that are useful in any culture of the world. You'll figure out the details of the culture when you get there. But the generic skills are very spiritual, actually. And I did this before I was with the Brahma Kumaris. But there are things like the humility, the ability to adjust and adapt your expectation to what's happening, the ability to tolerate a little discomfort until you can see what's really going on in this situation. They're actually very spiritual skills, but they called them generic skills. So in the time I did that work, it shifted from country-specific to helping people kind of soften the boundaries of their cultural ego, I could say.
Yeah. When did your perception of India change? You never wanted to come to India. And then you came to India. So what was, how did you find the first time you ever came to India? And did your perception change? Or did you like the country?
Gosh, such a good question.
You can be honest.
Such a good question. Oh, my relationship with my beloved motherland. It changed. It's still mixed, I can say.
Okay.
But it changed instantly the first time I came. And I was in Delhi, and we were taking the train to Mount Abu, which we used to do in those days. And the brother at the Delhi center was taking us to the train, and I sat next to him on the bus. And I said, wow, there's a lot of noise. There's so many people. You could tell I was having this. And he said, and I feel so white.
Yeah.
And he looked at me and he said, yes, but you were here last for sister. Meaning, you're an Indian inside. I went, right. I think that's true. So that was the first thing. So in other words, he accepted me immediately, right? So I felt like I could take off my white face, right? And then from the inside out be who I was. But the second was walking along the platform. This experience was a big one in my life. I was walking along the train platform, and you know what the train platform looks like in Delhi. So there's the smell of urine and many other things, and there are very impoverished people living right there on the tracks. I mean, it was horrible. I had seen that. I traveled all over Asia. I'd seen that. That wasn't a shock to me. But as I was walking along the platform, I could feel my body rise. I could feel myself start to walk like a king. And I had not seen the images of the Rajput kings, but I felt like a Rajput king. I was walking along the platform, and the feeling that came in my heart and my mind was, these are your people. Look what's become of them. No. And I melted. I absolutely melted. And I felt so responsible for India. I felt like it was my home.
You felt that you need to do something.
I felt like I need to do something. I feel like I have a right over it, though, so I can get a little bossy about how it's become.
How did it change? Like, now you've been here 30, 40 times. So did you find something growing? Did you find that situation is improving? Or
I think India has so much to offer the world, of course. I see the rest of the world looking to India in ways they don't even know.
Yeah.
Yoga used to be a foreign word, and now everybody does yoga in Canada, right? Meditation. We had to say meditation because no one knew yoga, and now meditation is very common. In terms of knowledge industry, like every call center, anytime a Canadian needs help, they talk to an Indian somewhere in India. I think the links are there. But for me, what I see is, I see a greatness rising, and not in a political sense, but in a slow awareness of how deeply significant it is to live a life where spirituality is naturally interwoven in everything you do.
That's lovely. It was lovely to speak to you, Sister Judy, and thank you for giving us your time. And Om Shanti.
Om Shanti. Thank you.